Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam. Vidhaya Hridi Vishveshvam Vidhaya Guru-vandanam Balanam Sukhabodhaya Kriyate Tarka samgraha. We are doing the last bit of section 2, right? Okay. We are doing that verse on Atma. Yeah. Okay. We'll do that, okay? Okay. Okay. Dealing with that verse on the Atma. Look at the definition of the Atma. We will say things like Satyam Jnanam Anantam, etc. in Vedanta. In Tarka, it is Jnana Adhikaranam, the locus of knowledge. Okay? The locus of knowledge is the Atma. What we will talk about as reason, etc., actually belongs to the Atma according to Tarka. Jnana Adhikaranam. And because there is Jnana Adhikaranam, they also say, okay, Jivatma is Prati Shariram Bhinnaha. Each body there is an Atma. Because Jnana Adhikaranam, remember, your knowledge is different from my knowledge. What you know, I don't know. What I know, you don't know. Therefore, there has to be differences. It has to be different. It can't be the same. Because Jnana Adhikaranam. Therefore, Atma Jnana Adhikaranam. That means what? You are not looking at the Atma, one second, as existence, etc. You are not looking at it. Existence, knowledge, etc. That is not how you are looking at the Atma. You are looking at the Atma only as the locus of knowledge. So, but then it implies it's a conscious entity, because knowledge can happen only in a conscious entity. So, it has to be a conscious entity. And you have to, what you call, finite. It's finite. Then you will have to talk of what is moksha and all later we will say. We will discuss that. But definitely it will be not the way Vedanta looks at it. That's why I said last time it is very dualistic in its approach. Because so many Atmas are there. Number one. Number two, Jivatma, Paramatma, Bheda. Paramatma is a word used for Ishvara. So there is a distinction here. In Tarka, there is a distinction between Jivatma and Paramatma. They are not even bothered about part and whole business. Divida, definite difference only. Because you are different, he is different. You are Alpajnaha, he is Sarvajnaha. Okay. So all that issues come into the picture. Sarvashaktiman, Alpashaktiman, all those differences will, that is similar and all that. Okay. Therefore, Atma is only a conscious entity, functioning entity, because knowledge has to take place. Therefore, it has to be conscious. It's a sentient entity. It is not limitless, etc. It's limited. It's limited. Then if it is limited, how can moksha take place will be a question which we will see later on, how it happens. It is eternal. That means what? Finite. That eternity will be like hanging around for a long time. Punarapi maranam, punarapi janam, and goes on. Yeah, he is hanging around. You will have to say that. And if you are saying it like that, look at the natural consequences that will come. Even though in this verse they are not talked about moksha. What will become moksha? If you are a finite entity and you are eternal, you are always there, what will moksha be? What do you think their idea of moksha will be? Either something experiential, some beatitude, or some dimension. Yeah. Exactly. So you have to leave the body here. Shariranam is not Atma. Jnana Dhikaranam is Atma. So you have to leave the body here. Therefore, they also will accept what is known technically as Deha Vyatirakta Atma. An Atma which is independent of the body, which is different from the body. That much is accepted in almost all Indian systems except the Charvaka. Except the Charvaka, the materialists. All systems of Indian philosophies, darshanas, including the ones that don't accept the Veda as a pramana like Jainism, Buddhism, etc., all of them have to accept Deha Vyatirakta Atma. There is an Atma that survives the body. Because that's logical. Logical. Logical, or it is sensible. More than logical, it is sensible to assume that, that you will survive the body. Even though there may not be much of empirical proof for it. Scientific proof may not be there. That's true. Scientific proof is not there. But a lot of things are there without science. Yeah. Exactly. Different births, different this. Yes. So birth, death, all that they will be similar to the other systems. Yeah. Yeah. That's why for them the mind is also eternal. But we'll see, we'll come to the mind and come back to the whole thing again. Then they'll be clearer. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. Vrittik Jnanam. Vrittik Jnanam takes place in the Atma. Please come. So, the Vyavaharik Jnana Adhikaranam is the Atma according to Tarka. Yeah. Vrittik Jnanam. What we say will take place in the mind, they will take place in the Atma.
So when we say Jnanam, that is different from...
Yeah. What we talk about, see, when we say Jnanam, the direct meaning of the knowledge is always, the word Jnanam is knowledge. Being awareful of something or the other. It is the implied meaning that shows it is pure awareness, consciousness. The meaning of consciousness comes only because of implication. Direct meaning is always knowledge. Jnanam is Jnanam. Those of you who have seen the Taittiriya with me, Jnapti Matram, etc. Yeah. Those who have not seen will see, don't worry. Yeah, ho jayega, ho jayega. Yeah. Gita also it comes. Yeah. So, there is where it is. Then what will be the mind according to you? Then if you do the mind, then you can come back to the Atma and make it things clearer. Okay, what is that? Sukha dukkhadi upalabdhi sadhanam indriyam manaha. The instrument with which you experience sukha dukkhadi. Emotions. Therefore, mind is taken as the emotional level.
Which verse are you?
Second section, 9th verse. Yeah. So, sukha dukkhadi, the instrument which helps you experience sukha dukkha, joy and sorrow, because even if it's a physical experience outside, the experience of sukha and dukkha is inside. You don't drink a nice good cup of South Indian coffee and say, happiness is out there. Yeah, this is causing you happiness, but happiness is caused here. No? Emotional. So they take the locus of all these type of emotions as mind. And then he says, Indriyam, mind is taken as a sense organ. Does Vedanta accept mind as sense organ? No. It's antakarna. It's not a sense organ. It's not an indriyam. But here, mind is taken. Then what about manashashtani, indriyani, etc. in the Gita? Then with mind as the sixth in enumeration, it is not necessarily that the mind is the sense organ. It's like saying, get those oranges, the sixth one, the apple as the sixth one. Get those oranges with apple as the sixth one. Is apple are we saying apple is an orange? No, we are enumerating there are 6, 5 are oranges, 1 is an apple, understood. Because you said apple is the sixth. You could have said fruits. We could have. Then there is no need for putting any number there. Get all the fruits that are there. Yeah. So when Gita says manas sashtani indriyani, this is what it means. Okay. So mind is not a sense organ in Vedanta, but mind is a sense organ as far as this is concerned. What do you call Tarka is concerned. Exactly. He says that here. Tacha prati atmaniyatvad antaha paramanu rupam nityam cha. Since it is connected with every atma, each mind has got connection with one atma. That's why I cannot know what you know, you cannot know what I know. That much part difference than mind is accepted in Vedanta also. But what is not accepted is what? Paramanu rupam, it is atomic in nature. Nityam cha, it's always there. Nityam here is in terms of time. It's always hanging around. As long as the Atma is hanging around, mind also will hang around with the Atma. That's why another birth, another death, etc. not a problem. Mind is there with you. That's why karmic connection is there. All that thing happens. Connection with karma, etc. happens because mind and Atma are connected. Sukha Dukkha is connected. Memory of Sukha, previous Sukha Dukkha is also there. In all that is connected. How do we differ? Do we say mind is atomic? So what is the size of the mind in Vedanta? What is the size of the mind in Vedanta? Huh? What are the dimensions of the mind?
It is not an organ.
It's not an organ, except it is not an organ. So, what is the dimension? Here they are saying is atomic. Yeah, pure thought. Here they are saying it is atomic. What does Vedanta says? It pervades throughout the body. Therefore, whichever mind, the mind goes to different bodies. Whichever body it occupies, it takes the size of that body. It has to, no? Born as a human being, size will be the size of the body because in every cell the mind is there. Because every cell is conscious. How can there be sentiency in every cell unless each cell has the mind present in it? Mind is conscious. So size will be this much. Previously elephant body, what will be the size? Like water fitting into the vessel, but water does not expand, it only takes the shape. Here, not only the shape, the size also. The mind pervades the body. Anyontaratma manomayaha tena esha purnaha. Remember Taittiriya? It fills up the previous one, which is prana, and the prana fills up the body. So the whole thing fills up the body also. Tena esha purnaha. So in Vedanta, the mind is depending upon the equipment. The size of the mind will depend upon the size of the equipment. Correct. So that means it is capable of expansion. That's all it shows. No? That is capable of expansion because it has to fit into different bodies. Yeah. Huh? Correct. But there is a limit because limited by non-mind. Everything that is not mind limits it. No? Yeah. Yeah. See, it's not really a problem because in Vedanta the whole thing is mithya. It's only when you categorize it that it becomes a problem. If you're categorizing it, you can't say. But you can have something, no? Like air. Let us say you take 1 kilo of compressed air. Compressed air is measurable, no? 1 kilo. You put into this room, where will the compressed air go? Fill up the whole room, no? And you can recompress all that air into this thing. Yeah. Therefore, like air, it can expand and contract. If air can expand and contract, why not? Anything expands and contracts. No? Metals, liquids, all that. So the nature of the mind is to expand and occupy the body that's inhibiting. That's inhibiting. Yeah. So the mind is seat of emotions, etc. Fine. Yeah. Seat of emotions, etc. is the mind, no problems. Yeah.
The thing is, because with the mind you know that you are the limitless.
Yeah.
Now it's difficult
Beg your pardon?
to come back to thinking that it's limited, that it can be only the size of the body. That is what I am.
Why did you say think it was limitless?
No, because through the mind only I understand that I am the limitless, and then of course the mind.
So when you are understanding I am limitless, is the mind being limitless or you are limitless?
I am limitless.
You are limitless, exactly. Not the mind. Not the mind. Mind is always a limited entity. The very fact that something can expand and contract will show it is limited. No? The limitless space does not expand or contract. Yeah. So the mind also, if mind expands and contracts, means it's limited. Because it has to. Because it has to fill up the body it is occupying. Why? Because every cell of the body is alive. See, this is the argument. Since every cell has to be alive, the mind has to pervade the whole body. Every cell it has to pervade. Otherwise, some cells is pervading, some cells is not pervading. So those cells that is not pervading will become dead. Yeah, gangrene will set in. Chop it off. Anyway, you won't know the difference. It's chopped off or not chopped off, because mind is not there. Experience of pleasure and pain will not be there. Because mind is not there. No? Pleasure and pain itself shows the presence of the mind. That much this is true. Bhoga sadhanam it becomes. The means for experience is the mind only. What else is it? Yeah. Means of experience is mind. Yeah. That cannot be avoided. But there is a difference between the way Tarka looks at it, Paramanu Rupam, atomic in nature. Then atomic in nature, where will you locate it? Then it is a Buddhi Guhayam or something like that you will have to say. Hridaya, etc. You will have to say something like that. Have a heart. In what way does it differ from science? It's important to look at all these aspects. Yeah. In science, mind is only the function of the brain. Information organizing entity, function of the brain is called mind. How will it put emotion? थोड़ा मुश्किल हो जाएगा. Huh? What is that? Ego, exactly. One part of the mind. Yeah. Instinctive mind will be the amygdala. That's the instinctive mind. So you will give areas of the brain. Now, this is very difficult to scientifically prove or disprove. Why? Because when certain things are stimulated, this part of your brain will also be stimulated. When you have certain emotions, when you have certain thinking, or when meditation happens, different areas of your brain is stimulated, that much is true. That much can't be challenged. That much is true. The only question is, how are you taking it? Your data is, this emotion is there, this part of the brain is stimulated. This thinking is there, this part of the... What causes which? What causes which? Excuse me. What causes which? Huh? Does the thought cause the changes in the brain, or does the changes in the brain cause the thought? It has to be the thought causes the change. Because otherwise you will be sitting down in isolation and all sorts of thoughts will be coming up. But aata hai na? Isn't that what is happening to all of us? We sit down and all sorts of thoughts come.
There is a talk in the Vedanta lecture about those neurons.
Yeah. I got the lady to talk, yes. Now look at it. If you are sitting in isolation and getting all those thoughts, you can say brain changes are causing the thoughts. There seems to be a one-to-one function there. Now look at it the other way around. I crack a joke and you laugh. And there is changes in the brain. There will be. You see, if the EEG is on and I have cracked a joke and this guy is laughing, naturally there will be changes in the brain. That is caused by the thought or by the brain did the brain cause the laughter or did my joke cause the laughter? I put the thought into his mind. No? Thought was there in the mind, but how did that thought come from? The thought came from me. It didn't come from the brain first. The stimulus created that. No? Let us say all experience is stimulus, scientific language. But the stimulus created the thought. That means if you are admitting external stimulus is creating a thought, there seems to be now a certain independence for the brain also, or for the mind. So the premise that the brain, chemical changes in the brain are causing thought is challenged by these experiences, where external stimuli is causing thoughts. Or you will have to say, I think this is how science will try to defend itself, by saying the stimulus is stimulating these areas of the brain and therefore that thought. That's why I did not give any physical stimulus, I said joke. Because joke में क्या physical stimulus है? Yeah. Cognition is brain function according to science, yeah. But if your cognition is, yeah, then what will happen? That means what? If brain is damaged, there is nothing you can do. This will be, see, there was a time when they believed that heart was the seat of all emotions. Okay? Then heart transplant started taking place. So then heart became just an organ. No more seat of emotions, correct? What will happen when a brain transplant happens? We have to wait and see. We have to wait and see, no? Is that character's information coming here or this character's information coming here? मजा आएगा.
Actually, coming here, they just narrate an experience. I have been to this conference where they are discussing the brain of the fetus. And these speakers from all over the world, they showed us the images. The brain of their child was totally gone. Totally. There was hardly any parenchyma.
Correct.
Yeah. So the couple was advised termination. The couple refused termination. This was in Italy. Then the child was born. They did some surgeries and they did something. The child is 10-year-old now, absolutely normal, with normal life.
Yeah. That means what? At that state, the brain function was not happening.
Yeah, and if the science predicted that this brain will be useless,
Yeah.
the child will not be able to walk also. But what's what? I don't know what is happening.
The jiva is present, no?
Yeah, they can't explain.
The jiva was in a dormant condition. We will, in Vedanta, we will say that jiva was dormant, not stimulated enough. So it's a very funny level of thinking, because you need an instrument called brain for the mind to function through this body. Because what is the connection? There are 2-3 levels of connection here, okay? Between the subtle mind and the physical body, there has to be some point of connection, some instrument of connection. That instrument of connection becomes the brain. That instrument of connection becomes the brain. Because otherwise the body is not, and the brain is connected to all your nerves and things like that, which spread all over. So that will be the connection between the mind and the physical body. Because some subtle matter you require to connect a very gross matter to a highly subtle matter. Your mind is a very subtle matter, ati sukshma. And physical body is completely gross. So you need something what is connecting up. So the brain becomes connecting up, instrument for connection.
But every cell has
Yeah,
a bit of that anyway.
every cell has a bit of that. No? So that is why you will laugh. And every cell mimics those hormones. No? Minuscule quantities, but it mimics. That's why I say thought creates matter. But within your body, not outside your body. So, this debate will be endless. Now, there is another, going back into the science and things like that. The question of multiple personalities. It's a psychological disorder, okay? It's a purely psychological disorder. More than psychiatric, it is psychological. Though, to handle that, you will need both psychologists and psychiatrists. Very few people have seen, very few psychologists also have seen multiple personality disorders. It's not easy to recognize multiple personality disorders. Because sometimes those symptoms are mimicked as bipolar. Bipolar is completely different personalities coming in, you know. Sometimes very happy, cheerful, those are etc. Sometimes depressed, those are etc. Multiple personality is more than that. When because of some psychological trauma, the mind has escaped and created a separate personality to escape this trauma. This will happen whenever it has happened. It has happened in victims of child abuse or victims of trauma, accidents, etc. Where in the moment of accident and confronting death, the mind escaped, couldn't handle that and created a separate personality to handle. Therefore, there is an interesting book written called Sybil. This was written some 100 years ago, almost 70, 80 years ago. Read it. Yeah. So, read that book is worth. Now, when you take a brain reading, an EEG, what do you call it? What the doctors call as an EEG, what is the full form? Yeah. So, that EEG, when you take, it is supposed to be unique for every brain, as unique as your fingerprint. EEG is unique. So, they managed to take the EEG of Sybil. Sybil had 13 personalities in her. It was a nightmare. That doctor worked for about 10-15 years to integrate all the personalities. You know, that would look at 13 personalities to integrate into one. My God. Now, when 5 personalities were occupying that body, they managed to take an EEG, reading of the brain, and they showed it to different neurologists. All of them said, these are 5 different people, 5 different brains. It was the same brain. The brain was the same, but that brain was inhibited by 5 different readings came up. That can happen only if the mind function is different. Mind is independent of the body, only then that can happen. Otherwise that cannot happen. Because brain is same. You measure my body, is it going to change? Body is not going to change. Some measurements change, of course. Pre-COVID, post-COVID. But it takes some time. But then that is constant then. Until you do something to change it. An EEG is not like that. An EEG does not depend upon your emotions and this thing. The basic brain pattern is different from reading your emotions and what the emotion is stimulating, which part of the brain and what are the waves coming, etc. That is different. So you can have alpha, beta, theta waves you can have in your brain, but they all belong to the same brain. That much will be clearly identifiable. But in Sybil case, 5 different personalities, 5 different brain functions. That is a clinching argument. Only problem is, as far as science is concerned, it is only 1 case, 2 cases. There aren't enough number of cases for science to accept that mind is different from the brain. You need a certain number of cases. When a trial run is done, you need minimum 100 people, no? For a drug, it is much more. You need at least 1,000, 10,000 cases to be dealt with, no? So, not enough cases. Because not enough cases of split personalities are there. Therapists go through their whole career without having met a single one. कितना केस है split personality का? Very few. Very few. Yeah. Yeah. Pujya Swamiji had someone coming to him who had the split personality issue. Ubhayata Prajnam. Okay. You can use that term if you want to. But, yeah. But there are other states which are more closer to Ubhayata Prajna. This can be one rare case of Ubhayata Prajna. That's all. Don't put Ubhayata Prajna as only split personality, because then you'll miss out all the others. Yeah. Other in-between states you'll miss out. Yeah. So, brain and according to science, there is brain and mind is same. According to therapists, psychotherapy, psychology, they take it as different. But psychology is not a science. Psychiatry is a science. Make this very clear, okay? Psychiatry is a science. Because by the very definition of science, you must be explored tangibly. Should be available. Tangible evidence should be there. Psychology is not dealing with something tangible, it's dealing with emotions. Whereas psychiatry is dealing with tangible things, your brain function. That's why if you go to a hardcore psychiatrist, you have a mental problem, he'll give you a tablet for it. That's it, nothing else. I know many psychiatrists who do not believe in therapy, which is tragic. Many psychiatrists don't believe in, which is... Not trained, I can understand. Not trained to do, yeah. Yeah. But they don't even believe that this field can help a person. That is the tragedy. It's like I have gone to orthopedic surgeons who says no need of physiotherapy. Come on, give me a break. Give me a break. You are dealing with structure. Okay? And structure is supposed to help function. But if structure is okay but function is not okay, what does it mean? There is something in between that is not functioning well enough. No? Range of motion, etc. Your structure is okay, but what about range of motion? Frozen shoulder, yeah. Or a ligament tear. Your ligament is shortened, it is healed, it is shortened. Now what do? You have to stretch it, expand it for full function to happen. So similarly, in case of psychology, it's more. Why? Because it's not a science. At least physiotherapy is accepted as a science. Isn't it? Physiotherapy, border area or accepted? Accepted as a science. Yeah. Because you have to have a science degree to study it. Because you are studying the human body, the muscle, ligament, bones, etc. So there is some sort of, yeah. You are studying about the human body in black and white and grey. That's a purely medical joke. Non-medical people may not get it. It's written in black and white. And what is the book is written? Anatomy by Grace. Okay. That's why you find it in black and white and grey. Okay. Yeah. So, jokes apart. Brain function and mind. Okay. Here, if you notice, in Tarka, they are not talking about the brain at all. Why? Made up of Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi. Na, itna hi hai. Whole body is made of Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi. So, kya bada baat hai? Different forms, arrangements, etc. Molecules coming together. That's it. Okay. Now, there's a Purvapaksha also, you know. Supposing we take the mind as Vibhuhu, the Bhasha is there. Manu as Vibhuhu, as all pervading. Then, and because it is Sparsha Rahitam, the mind is not tangible, you cannot feel the mind. There is no touching. You can't touch the mind. Okay? Therefore, he says, Dravyatvada Akashadi Vad iti chet na. Then it will become all pervading like space. And your mind is not all pervading like space. Manas, he is giving an argument. Manasaha vibhutve atmanaha samyogasya asamaya karnasya abhavad ajnana upapatti prasangaha or sarvajnatvam prasangaha. If mind is all pervading, is there any need for it to come in contact with the Atma? It's already there. Therefore, the mind will not be able to give Atma the jnanam. Or it should be able to give all jnanam. Sarvajnatvam. Neither is true. This is how Tarka looks at it. Remember, this is not Vedanta argument. Be very clear of the distinction. This is how Tarka is looking at it. Therefore, mind has to be Anu. Not only that, the connection with the mind and the Atma will always be there because mind is all pervading. Mind is all pervading means not mind functioning, no? Sukha Dukkhadi is always happening. Neend nahi aayega. Why? Sukha Dukkha is always there. And Atma is the locus of that. If Atma is the locus of Jnanam, where will you go to sleep? You'll never be able to dismiss your knowledge. Here simple, dismiss mind. You can sleep. Anyone sleeping without dismissing your mind? No, mind function is gone. No? Yeah. So can you see, it's all based on the practicalities of life. Tarka as a philosophy came up based on the practicalities of life. Observation, cross-referencing, generalizing, exactly like how science does it. Yeah. No, modern science is more refined. You are talking about something that they figured out more than 3,000, 4,000 years ago. Okay, 3000 BC may they figured it out. Mahabharata time it was there. Therefore, different.
How do you fundamentally explain so many eternal
Yeah, so many eternal entities.
I would think so basic, right? How do they?
Yeah, because when they say, now first they take as, okay, the question here for those who have not heard will be that if you are taking so many eternals, how can so many eternals coexist at the same time? Because they are making a difference between time and space. They are talking at the level of Newtonian physics. Time is separate, space is separate. In Vedanta and modern physics, we are taking both as one. No, time is separate, space is separate. So in this space, there are a lot of things which are born and dying, like my phone, my this thing, my book, etc. Table, they'll born and die. Finite. But there are certain things which are eternal. Eternal means what? There is no time limitation. There is still space limitation. Are you getting the idea? Time limitation is not there. Spatial limitation is there. There was a little bit of a thing. Paramanu, can't even see it. But It's hanging around. So eternity in Tarka means hanging around for a long time. As long as the creation is there, it will be there. All Paramanus are there. Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, Paramanus are there. All Paramanus are Nitya. Huh? Always there. Pralaya, everything is gone. Fine. Paramanu survive everything. Mind is also Paramanu. Paramanu Rupaha. Therefore, mind survives. Whereas Atma is what? Yeah. Atma is small. Paramatma is Vibhu. Okay, yeah. Two types of Atmas are there. One is many and one is one. And the other is one. Jivatma is many. Eternal. Jivatma is also eternal, okay? Paramatma is also eternal. Yeah. But Paramatma is Sarvajnaha. Can such a Paramatma be infinite, like how we present an infinite Atma?
By definition, it will not be infinite.
There cannot be many, exactly. There cannot be. The very fact that he says, Atma Paramatma Bhinnaha makes Paramatma what? Finite.
So how does Tarka take time? I was not there with the class on
On time. Time is that because of which you talk about past and future. That entity that makes you talk about past and future is called time. Remember, when you are defining in Tarka, you need not be explaining. You only are making you understand it distinct from everything else. Itrebhya sarvebhya vyavartakam lakshana. That which makes you understand things as different from everything else is called time. Therefore, time is taken as kalaha. That's it. Because of which you can have all these type of this. Atitadi vyavahara hetu kalaha. Ekaha vibhuhu nityascha. Time is one. It is all pervading because always there. Wherever space is there, time is also there. That much they recognize. Nityam also. The flow of time is eternal. You come and go in it. So they take time as eternal. Space as eternal. But the eternity here does not means only no time-wise limitation. It does not imply no space-wise limitation. When you're studying from the standpoint of Vedanta, it's confusing. Yeah. Because for us, anything that is not conditioned by time is not conditioned by space also. But here they take it the other way around. That's why I say, when they say eternal, they mean it's hanging around for a long time. It is not really eternal. It's just hanging around for a long time.
So then how do they explain when they talk about Anitya, Karya, Rupa? Because then that is limited.
Anitya means birth and death. Both are there. Karya Rupa has birth and death. No? Now birth and death, what is Karyam? When Paramanus come together, it is a Karya. What is death? Paramanus are separate. So the Nityam remains Nityam. Your Karya is gone. Put it like this. No, this is objectively true. What is this thing that we call shirt? Cloth. So when the fibers are come together, they form cloth. When fibers are separated out, where is the cloth? Fibers are there. So similarly, atoms come together, you get an object, karyam, finite. Atoms separate out, effect gone, dead, but Paramanu continues. Are you seeing that? The Paramanu continues, effect is gone. This is how Tarka looks at the whole thing. It's similar to science in that. Some sort of similarity is there. Yeah. things come together to form an object. No? Yeah. Hmm. No, different. Yeah. Yeah. But even in science is like that, no? An atom of gold is not similar to an atom of hydrogen, for example, no? Or a molecule. Atom. Hydrogen is an atom. Single thing, no? Yeah. Not the same. Yeah. That means what? The world is full of Parmanus. But science is saying the same thing. But science is saying the same thing. Everything is nothing but atoms. Molecules. Air is all molecules you are breathing in. You don't have to look move karke. It's all molecules you are breathing in and breathing out. No?
So Tarka, the ones who propounded it, they never bother about the Purva.
They did. Oh, for that you have to go into the Bhashyas. There are half. On this small book called Tarka Samgraha, here is given one small commentary, which I am quoting here and there. Okay, I am not reading each of the verses, but I am just quoting it here and there. But if you look at on this, there are half a dozen Bhashyas available. Indumati Tika is one of the big Tikas there. I have it. If you all want to study it sometime later. This is enough.
And they have Purva for Vedanta.
Yes. In that, why am I making all do this text? Because later on, higher text, half the Purvapakshas come from Tarka. That's why I want you all to understand Tarka.
Swami, the challenge in understanding Tarka after studying Vedanta is, first of all, every word has different meanings.
Yes.
The word sounds the same. It happens to all these Sanskrit, it's more complicated.
Yeah.
But it has a different meaning in Tarka.
Yeah.
And Swamiji, actually, with your blessing, our next time Vedanta is so strong that it's
I hope. If it is strong, let me develop Tarka arguments and give it to you. Here, okay, now let us see, I'll give you a simple argument where Tarka will challenge science also. Correct? Here, you are wearing a black t-shirt. According to Tarka, black is a guna that exists in the dravya called shirt, in the dravya called cloth. We'll some why we'll see later. By say, sambandha it exists. What does science say ulta? Na? Black is when all light is reflected. All light is absorbed. So that's black cloth. So as far as black cloth is concerned, it fits in. Guna, all fits in. What about white cloth? According to science, everything is reflected. Whereas Tarka will say white exists in the cloth because of some sambandha. So now that's wrong according to science, no? No, not wrong. Why is it that this cloth is reflecting all light and that cloth is absorbing all light? Huh? Color is because of absorption and reflection in science. But why is it absorbing? Why is it reflecting? That is the guna. Now can you see? That guna of whiteness is existing like that. You are saying reflecting, theek, but for me there is guna, na? Because something is different between the two cloths. What is differentiating one cloth and another cloth? Guna. Therefore, white is guna of this cloth, black is guna of that cloth. That makes, according to you, one reflect and one absorb. Now tell me, where does science have an argument for that? If you want to argue with Tarka, I can give you a lot of arguments, okay? Because science has to accept that one is reflecting, one is absorbing. Then you will have to say there is some quality because of which is absorbing and reflecting. Correct? That is guna of whiteness and guna of blackness. Existing because of asamvaya sambandha. By sambandha relationship. With the dravya called cloth. अभी क्या बोलेगा? It's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, in a way it was a forerunner, yeah.
And before that there was not any.
I don't know whether any experimental verification they did or not. Yeah, we don't know that. There's no records available. But remember one thing, in India a lot of records were destroyed. For political reasons, nothing like that happened, but fact is Takshila was burned down, a lot of other libraries were burned down, records were destroyed by foreign invasions. You can't deny these things. It happened. At least Nalanda and Takshila nobody denies, thank God. Why? They were Buddhists, not Hindu. Yeah. So many of the records were destroyed also, we don't know. You mean to say village libraries also would have had records? No? Village libraries will survive. Yeah. So because of that, some of the records are not available. Yeah. Science still has not been able to explain the radioactivity in Kurukshetra. Modern Kurukshetra near Delhi, the soil is highly radioactive. Not been able to explain why. Oh, the soil here is like that. Abhi tak you are looking at cause effect, cause effect, cause effect. When it comes here, you are saying it is like that. Why is it like that? Why suddenly in this area it is more like that? Whereas other areas it was not like that. There must be some reason, na? Can't avoid that. Yeah. So that's it. So if then that is where the Mahabharata battle took place. The description looks like nuclear. Descriptions look like nuclear. I am not saying it is. I am not saying it is not. I am saying we don't have enough evidence. If by some experimental verification they developed these ideas, then probably it was there. Because they say of some astras, it emitted rays and people's flesh melted out. Melted out. All that looks like radiation effects.
You see the soil is so red because so
Yeah.
many people died. So because of that, the color of the soil is
So there are. So we don't know. No proof has survived because live civilization that has gone through so many upheavals. Okay. They were denying the existence of Saraswati all these years until satellite image proved that there was a river there. Exactly were described. So we don't know for sure. How much experimental verification was there, not there, we don't know. We don't know. That's a logical stand to take. We don't know for sure. May have been there, may not have been there. Some of these theories are not, definitely not in harmony with science. Definitely not. Because they talk about an paramanu for air. Air is a molecule, mixture. Therefore, even molecule you can't talk about. It's a mixture. Molecule somewhat you can talk about, but it's a mixture, not a compound. Therefore, it's not a homogeneous quality. It's not a homogeneous quality. Because it's a mixture. No? Mixture is not homogeneous. So, that way it doesn't tally. That way it doesn't tally with modern science. Yeah. But then there are so many old scientific ideas which does not tally with modern science also. Do we say because of that we junk the whole thing? No. The logic part is good. See, this paramanu, this, that, etc. is a Vaisheshika part. That part is purely dialectical. The data necessary for logic. The logical part is valid. The logical part is valid. The data may be wrong. When you say Paramanu, this, that, etc., that you are talking about data. Data may be wrong because data collection system may have had problems. But the logic that is used is valid. Like guna exists in dravyam. How can you disprove that? The quality has to exist in a substance. You can't disprove that part of it. Until you come to Vedanta, when you talk about Satya Mithya. Remember, up to now, all this is Vyavahara level. Science, Tarka, both are at Vyavahara level. We are not shifting from Vyavahara level to the absolute level. There we will dismiss this. We will say there is nothing like Dravyam, what you are describing is only Gunas. That's the Vedanta standpoint. There is nothing like substance. How you define the substance to me? So these Tarkikas are smart. They'll say the locus of the Gunas. I say, what is that locus? Because all I see is Gunas only. All they are describing is qualities only. No? Gold. You'll talk about atomic weight, this, that, malleability, color, sign. All there is qualities. Where is the substance? No, where all these qualities exist is the substance. So what is the substance? Free from those qualities. Correct. Substance has to be free from that. That means there has to be nirgunam. Now the question is, what is that nirgunam? So then we have to come to Vedanta. Because the moment you say free from gunas, you cannot by observation talk anything about it. Why? Because nirguna means no qualities. Therefore no perceive. You can't perceive it. You can't objectify it. You can't perceive, you can't objectify. That means you are saying nirgunam is not an object. I am going purely by Tarka now, okay? That is also Tarka. All the qualities of table is tableness. That's what I am saying. The moment you say, because why nirgunam I brought in? Tableness exists in wood. What is wood? Woodness. The locus of woodness. What is that? Hydrocarbon. What is hydrocarbon? Hydrocarbonness. Those qualities, and in a dravya, what is that? Paramanu. What is that? Form again. Again something else. Then you will say final has to be nirgunam. Then you are talking Vedanta. At nirgunam level you have to come into Vedanta, otherwise you can't have an answer. Nirgunam means free from all qualities. What is that? Because you can't observe it, you can't see it, it is not available. That means it is not available for scientific inquiry or Tarkic inquiry. It is not available. Then what are you talking about? You can only say there must be something nirgunam and leave it. That's why logic, you are saying there is something beyond logic and leaving it. You can't explain it further. If you can't explain it further, then you need the sixth pramana to come and explain it. What it is. That's how Vedanta comes into the picture. Maja aa raha hai na? See, that's why last time when I taught, I didn't do it like this. I said, this time I'll do it like this. It'll make it easier. I taught this in the South Bombay class. And all of them were confused by it. Totally. Yeah. Exactly. Because otherwise we don't know how to be logical. This is being logical. Yes, it can be a problem. Okay. So with that we have completed the Atma and the mind. And now what is doing it is, all the qualities is taking it up and describing it in detail. Analyzing it in detail. Okay. That we will see in the next class. Good place to stop. Oh, that's it.